Okay, welcome, welcome. So tonight we're going to talk about what it is that Mintbuilder has to offer. What are we here for? What's the purpose? Can you benefit from what Mintbuilder has? And I think that answer is yes for pretty much everybody on the entire planet. I think our name speaks for itself. We're talking about being able to save more and be able to spend less, be able to get more, stack more silver and gold. That's what we're all about. Just a quick disclaimer, we are a precious metal specialist. I've been in the industry for more than 2 decades, since the late 90s, and but we aren't financial advisors. We're not insurance. We're not into the we're not tax advisors. So those are professions. They're a little different than ours, but they a lot of times will kind of tie in. But we don't have that certificate, so we're not licensed in that. So it's always good to take what we're talking about not as financial advice, but for something that you can do to take do your own research on. Maybe consult with someone who is a good advisor in that. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this tonight. So basically, we all probably kind of have a hint at this point that our currency is on its way to zero. It's not anything new, but it just seems like there's trends where it happens quicker than other times. We're in one of those times right now. Of course, we had one of those times in 2008, 2000, and other 1979, 80. It's something that trends and happens, pretty steadily, kind of like on a 20-year mark or so, give or take 25 years. We're in that mark now. We're in a huge bubble, but there are things you can do to protect yourself, and that's what we're going to talk about. It's not just about doom and gloom. It's about what can you do to ensure that you capitalize on situations like this. I'm telling you, when there's bad economies, that's when the most millionaires are created, almost always, because that means there's ability to get things for less cost oftentimes, or they can position themselves to be able to benefit from it. And it's things that we're not really taught when we're kids, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it here. So that's what Mintbuilder is here for: education, getting the assets with good best pricing, creating streams of income as well. So we're going to go into each one of those. Most people, we dream of achieving that financial security, and just making sure that we're protected, not having that anxiety all the time, and becoming wealthy, living on our own terms. But the reality is that we a lot of times don't accomplish this. And this is something that took me years and years and years to learn. I grew up poor. I didn't grow up with money at all, and same mindset, poor mindset, and poor financially. So this wasn't passed on to me, the education, and it's not their fault. It's not their parents' fault. It's just something that kind of continues until we finally have to say, what, let's learn something different. Let's try to protect ourselves financially, and then kind of go from there. A lot of times, people say, well, they're just lucky. That's how come they got wealthy. Well, it's not really about luck. Luck has a little bit to play in a lot of things that we do, but really it's about positioning yourself to be lucky in the first place. And I believe that whatever it is you're trying to achieve, in this instance, what we're talking about tonight, is wealth and finances. And if you want to, position yourself to be lucky in that, then you have to first get some education on what it is you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to become financially sound, let's say you just want to have all your debt paid off, maybe a little bit of savings, some investments, a little bit here and there, or maybe you're looking to be a multimillionaire. First things first, you have to first get the right education. And I'm not talking about university. I'm talking about the education specific from people who have already been successful in the things you're trying to achieve. And then the next step is planning. So taking the education, doing something with it, not just learning and learning and learning and learning. That's a big thing. It's kind of like analysis paralysis. Keep learning more, and I'm not ready yet. I have to learn more, and then I'm still not ready. That's not going to get you ahead. You have to make a plan with the education. You'll continue to learn as you go. That's great, but don't wait to start. Just start planning, and then what do you do for the third step? Is you consistently work out the plan. So you're going to repeat the cycle. You get the information you need, start planning something out, and then do it, and then consistently do it. It's like lifting weights and working out. I'm going to be healthy because I'm going to lift weights today, and that's all I'm ever going to lift weights, and I'm going to be healthy. No, it's a repeat cycle. And the same thing is with anything that we're passionate about in life. And I believe finances are most people's biggest fear. They're afraid of not having enough, They're afraid of, going bankrupt or not being able to pay bills and losing a house, or sometimes it creates that dispute between partners. And there's a lot of stuff with a lot of people in the world. We're talking almost 90% of the people are not considered wealthy. And so that's where we can make a change now, and I want to have that kind of legacy passing on to my kids and so on and so forth. That's where we can make the change. So we're putting a stop to, maybe some of you on here already have financial education. Well, that's great. And that's awesome. For those who don't, which are the majority of people don't, this will hopefully help get you to head down the right path at least. So I believe the first step is savings. Very first, got to get some savings. Because why would you want to do that? Why is that? Because we stress so much. Stress is the biggest killer. It's more than cancer and heart attacks and all these horrible things that most of us have been impacted by. Stress is kind of a cause, a background, a basis cause to so many bad things. And I think that so much of our stress has to do with living paycheck to paycheck and not knowing, if we're going to have enough. That's so much stress. And so I think the first thing to do isn't necessarily paying off debt. I think it's getting a little bit of a savings put away, a nest egg. And most people I've heard talking to, different people, and I said the same thing, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Well, I need to get more income first, so I'm going to start working harder, and so I can start savings. Well, I work harder, I'd make more income, and I would just spend more money. I'd get in more debt. It's like the more income I made, the more debt that I acquired. And it doesn't make sense logically, but it does make sense emotionally. So first thing we have to do is get a savings started. No matter what your income is, start little, whatever you have to do, scrape and scrounge, get something put away. So starting with emergency fund, what does that mean? Maybe like $500 to $1,000. That's a good place to start. And then what you want to do is you want to get it built up to where you have, 1 week's worth of income. That's a minimum. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now, how do you want to save? Do you want to throw the money in a savings account? By the way, interest rates are so high now, you can make so much money in your savings. A little sarcasm. Yes, they are more than they were a few years ago, but we're paying for it on the other end. It's still not going to do any good because inflation is still higher than the interest you're going to earn. So you can expedite your savings by saving the right thing. And I'm not talking about only saving cash. You should save some cash. You should have some, but you need an asset that's liquid. And I think precious metals is the perfect tool for that. There's many assets. They're good assets, but this is one of the best assets. And on top of it, it's very liquid. You can easily turn it back into cash if you need, but it's like a two-step requirement, so that if you just had cash, you're going to spend it. It's really easy to spend. But if you have this, it's like, well, it takes one extra step. So it's a great thing to have. So now moving on, why in the world would we not want to save our cash? It's fiat currency. Most people call it money, but it's not money. It used to be money a long time ago, but it's not in my lifetime. It's not really money anymore. And the problem with it is it's made to create inflation. And so, we think that they're not doing something right. And that's why it keeps, inflating. And when I say inflating, what I mean is, the cost of things are going up. And we're going to go into that a little deeper in a few minutes. And that's actually on purpose. It's intentional. Think of a current. It's called currency. Think of a current like a river. It's got to keep flowing. If it stops flowing, it becomes stagnant. It's not really a river anymore. Then it's just a lake with no inlet or outlet. Think of a current. Think of electricity. If the current stops flowing, you plug something into it, it's not going to do anything. There's no power because it's not flowing. It has to keep flowing. So fiat currency is exactly that. That's how it was designed, to continue to flow. The ultra wealthy do not hold on to cash or ones and zeros in their bank account. If Elon Musk, for example, richest guy in the world, hundreds of billions of dollars, but how much cash does he have? Probably you'd be surprised at how little he has, because it's mostly in assets. Can he get cash? Yeah, I'm sure he could get it, relatively quickly. All of the ultra elite, the ultra wealthy. Now I'm not talking about, the top 10%, maybe the top 1%, and then definitely on up to the 0.1%. They're not keeping very much cash, very minimal amount of cash. And this is the reason, because it's dying when you're holding on to it. It's losing its current. And now it's a flat, instead of fiat, it's flat currency. It's dead currency. So we have to use it. And I think of it as money soldiers. You know, it's like you have you're in charge of an army, and every one of your dollars, if you're here from the US, or pounds from the UK or whatever it may be, each one of those have a mission. If you just hold them in camp, they're eventually just going to die. But if you send them out, then they're going to bring you back something. It may be something of value. It may be something not of value. It might be a McDonald's Happy Meal. I don't know. And that's going to bring you back something that's probably not going to get you the best results you want. We got to eat, of course. But you want to send out as many of them as you can to try and bring back more money soldiers. That's what I'm talking about. Those are dollar soldiers. Those are what you want to. You want to be a smart general. You want to use your dollar soldiers in the best way possible to maximize your return, so you can make your dollar soldiers work harder, so you don't have to work as hard. That mindset alone took me more than a decade to grasp and kind of put together in that kind of analogy. I like things in analogies because it helps me understand. So hopefully that helps you a little bit too. And this is where our dollar is going. The current is flowing downhill, just like all rivers do. They flow down the mountain until it eventually, flows out into the ocean. So this is where it's at. Actually, technically, we're under 2 cents in a true buying power right now, and there's many reasons for it. It's kind of like Federal Reserve was created. It was a big banking elites that kind of created that, so that made our money go down. Franklin Roosevelt took away our ability to own gold. And that kind of caused, he kind of devalued it, took away kind of the gold standard, and then the Bretton Woods tried to bring it back in. Didn't really work. Almost took 2 decades for it even to start to take traction, and it was in the 60s, and that quickly ended. And then Nixon got in big trouble because all of a sudden all the other countries were investing in our dollar by buying like treasuries, things like that. They wanted their gold back. They wanted to trade that treasury back in for gold, and so they were taking all the gold. And Nixon said, "Well, we don't have enough." So that's the problem. They were making too much fake money that they didn't have enough gold backing it, and they don't want to lose trust and all of a sudden be bankrupt, right? So they stopped the gold standard totally. It was supposed to be temporary. That's a whole story. We know it's not temporary. We know to this day it's not coinage. It's not gold and silver coins. It's not our currency as it was constitutionally. So what can we do to make something different for us and for our loved ones? We can start saving our dollar soldiers, this fiat currency. We can plug it in, just like when your phone's dying. You wouldn't just throw it in a bathtub of water, or thinking it's going to charge, or just leave it on the counter and think it's going to charge, or stick it in your bank thinking the bank's going to charge it. No, you're going to plug it into the electricity that's going to power it, and it's going to charge your battery. The same thing with our wealth. We have to plug in our dollar soldiers, our fiat currency. We have to plug it in to something that's going to charge our wealth, not take away from it, not drain our wealth. It's going to give us more wealth. And fiat currency is not the thing to do it. Real money, silver and gold, has been money for thousands of years. Literally thousands of years, it's been accepted as a means of exchange for for money, but also for power and so many other things. There's no difference to this day. It still is valued, and so that's where we have to put it. So let's charge up our wealth with real things. That's assets that are real assets that are liquidable. You can still put them into cash if you need to. We have people do it all the time. They've been saving for a long time. All of a sudden they ran into something major. They lost their job. They can't find another job, or a major auto repair or a medical thing comes up. And guess what? They cash in on their savings. We buy back precious metals too, and we get like top dollar for it. So that allowed them to then get cash. And guess what? Most of them end up coming out ahead. Because why? Because is precious metals just going up and up and up? Not really. If you think about it, it's our dollar going down. It's just holding our wealth. It's holding our value. In some instances, yeah, it's able to get you more things than what it used to, for the most part. But it's really the fact that the precious metals are the real storehouse. And I love that it was used in the right purpose, and actually they got to cash in on it and use it for the emergencies. And that's what it was for. And it just makes me feel good to know that people are actually using it for that purpose. Now, do I wish that they, glad that they got into the trouble? Absolutely not. But I'm so thankful that they were part of Mintbuilder to start savings, and then with the assets, and then they were able to cash in on those assets and take care of the things that they would have been worried about if they didn't have the savings. Now, why are we talking about so much silver and gold? And, what is it that I know about it? I mean, yeah, I've been in the industry for a long time, but, I'm just one person. Really what we need to do is look at what are the banks doing, what are the ultra elite, what are they doing? Because obviously they may not be good at everything, but they're good at finances. Obviously they know what they're doing with finances. Most of them aren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. More than half of them are actually became millionaires on their own. So that's kind of a really cool fact. Now, what's happening here that I'm talking about, let's take a look at Chase. Banks like Chase are trading in their currency and they're stockpiling silver and gold. Chase, for example, has 675 million ounces of silver. Matter of fact, they bought so much at once, they got in trouble because they were cornering the market. There's multiple reasons for it, but they do it during times when there's high inflation, when the dollar is struggling. So that's a big deal. Why do they have so much silver? Central banks around the world, which really aren't even banks. Federal Reserve is our central bank here in the US, and the Federal Reserve sounds like it's part of the government, federal, but it's not, and it's also not a bank. It's not a bank, it's not federal. But what is it? It's just a bunch of people that run the banks, that are in charge of our monetary policy. Basically, they own 25% of all of the entire gold reserves, all the gold in the world. That's 1.15 billion ounces of gold. That's how much they own and are stockpiling. Did they always own this much? No. There's times where they buy a lot and there's times where they sell a lot. Now, just recently, since 2020 and 2022, and a little bit this year, they've bought record amounts, more than they've ever bought in gold before. You hear about it all the time with China and other countries like Russia stockpiling gold, and they're worried about what's happening with the U.S. dollar in the world market. They're not dumb when it comes to making sure that they're going to get taken care of when there's a financial type of collapse or something like that. The biggest thing to be worried about isn't inflation, because inflation is always going on. Matter of fact, deflation is harder on, that would actually collapse the central banking system. So they're going to ensure that never happens. But really, if we're in stagflation, that's worse, because now, the prices, everything goes up, but the amount of money in the economy and how much we're all making goes down. So that's when a lot of people end up living on the streets and going bankrupt. And a lot of experts are talking that we're getting into that. That's the Great Depression. That's kind of the thing. So again, not doom and gloom is not something for you to be like, get anxiety about, worry about. It's something for you to plan with and understand, that there's a purpose for it. So when these central banks are buying all this gold, they're not holding it forever. So I get asked all the time, am I just supposed to buy silver and gold and just hold on to it until I die? No, there's not necessarily. It's good to have a savings and inheritance to pass on. That's great. And I agree with that. But also part of it, you're supposed to be able to have it. And then when it swings the other way, which it always does, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, then it's time to sell it. And the central banks do it all the time. You can look at their books and you'll see gold reserves, gold reserves, gold reserves. All of a sudden, gold reserves go down. And it's because they're preparing for something to hedge, trying to protect themselves, hedge against what's happening in the economy. And that's what's going on now. They're buying it more than they've ever bought. So that tells me that there's something bigger happening in the economy that's ever happened before, something worse that's ever happened before, worse than the Great Depression, because they're doing this. They were around during the Great Depression. They were around for almost 20 years before. So they know and they understand it. So this is what we should be doing. So, again, the world fiat currency is changing. We know it's digital, it's going digital, and the CBDC, where they control more, they can, the Federal Reserve, the central banks can control more what's happening with our money. But it's bigger than this now. We've been digital already for a long time, more than we probably know. Most of the world fiat currency isn't printed. It's just ones and zeros. We use credit cards and debit cards. There really isn't even enough paper money to cover even a fraction of all the transactions. So we're already pretty digital at this point, but there's going to be even a more of a switch in the currency. And it's not the first time it's happened. I told you about it already before, as we we're going through, the policies with, when the Fed was created, when Roosevelt changed currency, blah, 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 all the times in history. We're constantly changing. I think this is going to be a pretty major one that moves us into the future. I'm not saying that, digital currency in general isn't a bad thing. I think Bitcoin, decentralizing, getting away from, the federal or the central banks having all control, I think it's great. I think it's a great thing. We all should have, some piece of that. I think silver and gold does exactly the same thing. It protects our value, but it's even better because it's tangible. So having some of that is definitely needed. Now, I was saying I was going to explain to you a little bit about what I mean by things like, become like overpriced and things become underpriced. So I created this tool called the Fair Price Pendulum. We're working on creating a widget for it right now. I think it's a very helpful tool. It by no means should be a final factor in decision making for you, where you want to put your money as savings or via investment. But I know that people like Warren Buffett, they use tools like this. And this is just Bridgewater is another, Ray Dalio. They use tools like this, even more complicated. And I'm writing a book right now. It's we're going to probably publish in about a month, called Crisis Fortune. I talk a little bit about more in depth on it. But basically, it's this: everything that we compare to, we're talking about housing prices are out of control, and all this stuff is going up so much. And while it is going up based on how many dollars it takes, it really, to know if things are really getting more expensive to make or to produce, you can't compare it to just the US dollar. You have to compare it to assets, other assets. Compare one asset to another asset. Like, like a house. I want to know, how much does a house cost? Instantly, oh, it costs $500,000. See, instantly our brains are trained to go to dollars. How much does a house cost compared to gold? How much does a house cost compared to silver? How much does a house cost to, whatever other asset you can think of, stocks, whatever, maybe. That's the best way to do it. So now, this fair price pendulum, when it is 100%, when you're doing percentages, if it's 100%, that's exactly where it should be. And when I say it should be, I'm talking about the last 50 years, taking the median price, the cost, based on whatever we're going to compare it to. So let's compare gold to houses. Okay, so right now we know housing is like doubled in price. At least here in Florida, it's doubled in price in the last 3 years since 2020. Compared to our dollars, but let's compare it to gold. So if you would go back 50 years ago, let's say 1973, it would cost you around 209 ounces of gold to buy a house. Today, it's going to cost you around 209 ounces of gold still. Okay, or well, let's see, overvalued, undervalued. Okay, so today it's going to cost you 218 ounces of gold. So our houses overvalued as much as people think and say they are. They're 4% overvalued compared to gold. Now, what about gold compared to the Dow Jones industry? Same kind of scenario. So over the last 50 years, it takes about 8 ounces of gold to buy one Dow Jones share, one share of the Dow, right? But what does it take now to buy the Dow? It takes 19 ounces of gold. And I'm talking over 50 years, it's always been a median price of 8 ounces. If you go back just several years, 8 ounces. If you go back 20 years, about 8 ounces. If you go back 50 years, about 8 ounces. And it's 19 ounces right now. So what does this tell you? Now, if you're like most people, it's called the herd mentality. And I'm saying herd, H-E-R-D, herd as animals, you're herding together. So everybody's running because why? It's a psychological thing. It's a fear factor, and it's a greed factor. So we're either running towards something because of fear, or running away from something because of or vice versa, running towards something because of greed, or running away from something because of fear. So and that's what most people do. So when they see this, they're like, oh my gosh, Dow Jones, it's going up so much, I don't need to miss it, I'm going to jump into it. Everybody's jumping into it, and it's 19, it takes this much. So that's telling me it's a herd mentality. What exactly Warren Buffett does is the opposite. He says, do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. And, and that's what he's been known to be the greatest investor of all time. Now, there's a whole other thing on this. Again, this is kind of gives you an idea to do more research on. So it kind of helps you to kind of pinpoint where you want to research so you're not wasting time. And I think one of the things with this particularly, and the reason why the Dow has went up so much, and I believe that our entire stock market, all of Wall Street, I believe, is in the biggest bubble we've ever seen in American history, more than it was in the Great Depression when the whole thing collapsed, more than it was when it collapsed in 2020, went down like half, and everything almost went in half. It's more than that. What happened was in 2020, when all the, everything was happening with the pandemic and things, we started getting what? Stimulus checks and, SBA loans and things like that. Well, they made it sound like to pass the bill, we're going to give you some free stuff. And so that way, everybody's like, yes, that sounds good. Let's do it. Right. And this is not political by any means, because it doesn't matter what side of, politically you stand on. It's irrelevant. What it is about central banks and Federal Reserve, more particularly, and what they're looking out for and what they're trying to accomplish, more than it has anything to do with any government. But what happened was the Federal Reserve was creating more money. So that means they were buying up U.S. Treasuries, which means our U.S. government was going in debt, more debt, which it's astronomical. We're over 300, or over $30 trillion in debt at this point. Just our interest payment alone is about to hit $1 trillion, just in a yearly interest payment. That's insane. But what I'm getting at with this is so they made this idea that we're all going to get some free stuff. Whenever there's free stuff, just remember it's not really free. So this free stimulus was given out. It was a very small fraction of how much was fiat currency was created. Very small, just enough to trick us to say, hey, yeah, let's all support it. Let's do it. But really, what happened was the majority of the new fiat currency that got printed, trillions of dollars worth, got pushed into the bigger bank systems. Not your local credit union, but like like JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America and banks like that, Wells Fargo. It was pushed into them, and what they were doing with it is they were giving it to the bigger corporations. That not the SBA that we heard about, but the majority of it went to the big corporations. And what did they do with it? They took the money and they bought back a lot of their own shares, their own stock shares. And why did they do that? Because what it did was it created their stocks to go skyrocket. And all their shareholders were super happy. Like, oh my gosh, look, you just made us all rich. All of the executives and the shareholders became, they just made millions and millions and billions even of more dollars and bonuses and things like that. Basically, all of that money that got funneled, that was free money, got funneled all to the people who already were the top 0.1%. It all went to their pockets. And there is one person I talked about earlier, Warren Buffett, who said, I'm not falling for that. I'm not doing that. He didn't buy back his shares to make his shareholders happy. And I'm sure the shareholders are like, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing, everybody else is doing it. It's just free money. You're just getting millions of billions of free dollars. He said, because what's going to happen is that bubble's going to burst. And guess who's holding more of the shares, the stock shares now? All the executives and the shareholders. And when it does burst, some of them are going to go bankrupt. These people that might be worth $1 billion could easily go bankrupt. And so that created a huge bubble. All that money got shoved into Wall Street. Trillions of dollars got shoved into Wall Street really quickly. And so the Dow and all the other ones are way up in price. They're in a bubble. That's why Warren Buffett's keeping his money in liquid assets right now, so that he can, guess what? The bubble's going to burst. It's going to be bigger probably than the 2008 bubble that we had, bigger than the dot-com bubble, bigger than the 1980s bubble and depression. They think it's going to be bigger than the Great Depression. And when it does burst, Warren Buffett's going to take over being the richest person in the world, probably, because he's going to buy for pennies on a dollar all these companies up there worth something that he believes are going to be worth something. He's going to buy them all up because they're going to be selling for a fraction, just to get out of bankruptcy. So that was a long-winded way of just telling you that it's good to take a look at something, an asset compared to something else, instead of what our fiat currency can buy, because that's a trick. And we're always going to be blinded if we're always just looking at it through the eyes of the US fiat currency dollar or the pound or the euro. If we're looking at it through this fake fiat currency, if we're looking at it through that eyes, we're going to always miss the boat. We're going to miss it every time. And then we're going to chase after what everybody else is chasing. And then we're going to lose more money. And then we're going to go back and we're going to lose more money. And then it's just like this constant thing where we keep losing. So with the price pendulum, the cool thing is this: let me go back here. So when the Dow is up in a position like that, like I was just showing here, let's see, here we go. Okay, so when the Dow does go to this, and you do your research again, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you kind of some of the things that I've researched and learned over the years and created a tool to help out to understand it. But when something gets so overpriced, that would be a perfect time to sell it. And guess what's going to happen? A pendulum works off momentum. It's going to eventually swing back. And when it swings back, do you think it's going to stop right at 100%? No, momentum is going to take it past. And why is there momentum? Why is there why is physics tied to this? Because it's not just about physics, it's about emotions. Like I said, it's fear and greed. So when it goes back, it's going to swing past. So it's going to come to the point where probably the Dow, you're going to be able to buy a share for 6 ounces of gold or 5 ounces of gold, something like that. And at that point, that's when you want to sell all of your gold. So not all of it, but sell your silver and gold, because people are always like, well, am I supposed to hold it forever? That's the point to sell it. And then buy Dow, right? If you did your research and you see that it's going to have promise, it's going to come to where it should be again, and then it's going to eventually work its way back up. It's a cycle, wealth cycles. It's continual, never ends. As long as there's been humans on the planet, there's always wealth cycles. Even going back to prehistoric times when you're talking about underdeveloped humans or whatever it is, they were trading something, and there's always a wealth cycle. At that time, maybe there was an overabundance of sheep's wool, but there wasn't enough, vegetables and fruit, something like that, and then it might switch at some point. Well, the same thing happens still to this day. It's never going to change. Way in the future, we'll have different means of how we, what we call money and wealth and things, but there's still going to be cycles of things that are going to have a pendulum tied to it. So that is the main part of this tool, is to be able to capitalize on the way up, capitalize again on the way down. So you're double dipping arbitrage. You're able to take advantage of it twice. Now, gold and silver, that's another one just for fun. I'll just run through really quick. So typically it takes 63 ounces of silver in the last 50 years. It used to be 20 to 1 before, then when we ended the gold standard, then it was on its free market and it was able to do what it wanted to do. And so in the last 50 years, that's why I only go back 50 years, because when you go back prior to that, it's kind of fixed. Everything is fixed because our currency was based a little bit more on silver and gold. So, or on gold rather. So here it is, 63 ounces is typically what it takes. 63 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. And that's over the last 50 years, that's the median. That's what, if you'd go back 40 years, about 63 ounces, you go back 10 years, about 63 ounces. So where are we at right now? And this helps me to plan my savings. I don't really call getting silver and gold an investment, I call it a savings. So this helps me to get my savings in order. What do I want to save? I want to save, even the precious metals, I believe there's a way to capitalize and make even more effort. So it's kind of like, when you have a charger for your phone, you have those generic ones that charge your phone like half speed. And then you got the, if you have an Apple phone, for example, you got the lightning chargers and they charge your phone really fast. Well, it's the same thing. Both of them are going to charge it. It's just like, why not figure out which one's going to charge it faster? And so this helps me to plan out what I'm going to save. Right now, it takes about 82 ounces of silver. This was drawn up a month or so ago. Of course, we had a little bit of movement in the market, so it might be a little off of that, but is saying that it takes 82 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. So that is what? That means that gold is slightly overvalued to silver. It means that silver has more potential. So what I do personally, if silver and gold are at the 63 ounce ratio, I'll do like 50-50. I'll spend half of my savings on gold, half on silver. If it gets up to like 70-ish or something like that, I'll usually do like 75% silver and 25% gold, give or take. I kind of like look at the market, what's happening. If it gets, I've seen it hit about 100 before, where it took 100 ounces of silver to go. I'm all silver at that point. I'm not buying any gold then. But right now, at 80 ounces of silver to gold, I'm still buying gold right now. And you also have to remember, silver is being used in industry, so it's being consumed. And then gold, is more cherished and more hoarded a little bit. It's always been a value of wealth. So both of them have really good backgrounds. And again, you can use it how you want to there. So precious metals, this is good to understand. They come in two distinct forms. Most people know about bullion. It's pretty obvious. Maybe they don't know, though, that bullion can be, private, we call it generic. Silver and gold is private, minted, or it can be coins like the American Silver Eagles made by the US Mint. or what you see here, this is the Britannia. Britannia is made by the Royal Mint in the UK. So that's still bullion. It's all bullion. Now, the ones that are made by U.S. governments have like a dollar value on it, and they usually come with a higher premium. But usually, when you sell them, you can still charge the higher premium and get your money back. So it's not necessarily it depends on what you're looking to do. Now, numismatics, on the other hand, maybe a lot of you have not heard of this before. Numismatics are a whole different thing. When I'm talking about savings, and you'll hear a lot of experts talk about investing, I don't call buying silver and gold investing, I call it savings, because it doesn't have dividends, it doesn't have interest rates. It's just something that's hedge against inflation. It's protecting you. It's a savings, and that's what I think that's the best terminology for it. Numismatics, on the other hand, I don't buy those as a savings. I like numismatics, but I don't buy them as a savings. I buy those like I would buy art. What is your favorite artist? Maybe you're into that. Maybe you're into glass or paintings, or whatever that may be, or something else collectible. Like baseball cards, or the Pokemon cards, or whatever it may be. If you're into that is the reason. So that's kind of a little bit more of a personal preference, or you could call it savings if you want to. But I look at it as more of a long-term, something you like. Now, here's the benefits of it. Obviously, bullion is crisis protection, as I mentioned. It's got lower premiums, and it outperforms cash savings. So that's your hedge, that's your protection. Numismatics, they have a value above the regular price. They're not as market dependent, and oftentimes they're sonically preserved, but not always. Like I got one right here. This one's kind of cool. It's from Cook Island, and this is it's called the Silver Burst. There you go. You can see it now. It's a 3-ounce coin, and it's Cook Islands, so that means it's an actual coin because it's made from a government mint, and it comes in this cool display case. It makes it a little bit more, collectors like to see a good presentation. Now, the reason I would consider this numismatic is because there's only 999 minted in the whole world ever. There's never going to be a 1,000th one ever. So that means that only possibly that maximum 999 people could own this. That's it. That usually right out of the gate helps you to make some money off of it and be able to profit from it relatively quickly, as long as it's not one of those gimmicky things where they're selling online, one of those infomercials, where these great cool gold coins. I had a person come to me the other day, and they were like, I have this 6-coin set, gold coin set, and I see if it's something that you can tell me about, or maybe you're interested in buying. And I was like, it was super disappointing. For him, the set was actually it was only coated and clad in gold, and it was bronze underneath. And they pretended like how they were saying it was official government stuff, but the way they worded it got them legally out of trouble by how they worded it. But for most people seeing it, on these TV commercials and stuff, it's really sad because they'll spend like $150 on it. That set's worth like $25, but they look nice. I mean, if you would want to buy them and you get them for a reasonable price just for their looks, that's fine. But if you think you're actually buying gold, that's really disappointing. You have to read all the fine print. And so that's why it's important to really, have someone you trust and you can be in the market with if you're looking to buy real silver, gold, platinum, palladium, and getting the right thing. Now, just an example of a numismatic here. This is one we sold in 2018. Our members were paying $45. They're like, why would I pay $45 for 1 ounce of silver? Just because it has a marble character on it, I'm not going to do it. Because back then, I think silver was like in the teens per ounce or something like that. And so they're like, I can literally buy like 2.5 ounces of silver. Why would I spend that much money on 1 ounce? Well, as of last year, they were selling for almost $200 a piece, and they only paid $45. So that means that was a 95% value increase per year, almost 100% increase of value per year. So while it's fun to get the kind you like, also look at how many are minted and how many, if you get it graded like this one here, graded by NGC at a 70, which is the highest grade. We were selling a bunch of these. I think there was a couple hundred that were actually minted MS70, I think, something like that, the population of how many in the world. So that almost instantly puts you in that place where you're gonna like have profit if you wanted to sell it. And the secret here at Mintbuilder is is that we're going to help get you in that almost instant wealth gain, almost instant profitability, because we're kind of cutting out. There's 5 steps to coinage, right? So it comes from the mine, and then they have to go through and do the minting processing, and then it goes on to like the actual mints, and then goes to wholesalers, and then blah 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 to retail. Well, we're able to cut out almost 2 middlemen out of there, so that's going to get you a better price, and it's going to put you so you have the product to be able to sell at retail if you wanted to ever. So it's just a nice place to be, to know that you're not paying overpriced for something, you're getting it for the best price out there. Now here at Mintbuilder, there's 2 distinct people. We have our wholesale customers, they're purchasing wholesale memberships so they can get the best prices. They're purchasing other precious metals in the shop, and they're setting up their savings account. They're not sales associates. And then we have sales associates who are helping us to be able to find customers, and be able to they're able to sell precious metals, and they're able to build a sales organization that does the same thing, earn some money. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, why we do that. So here is what a wholesale membership, this is what customers that are getting referred to us, this is what they do. They get on the VIP membership, and it's $79 a month. And then if you want to pay for the whole year up front, it only ends up being $59 a month, so you're saving quite a bit. You're going to get 50% off of asset premiums. We're going to talk about what those are in a second. 50% off of the premiums in the shop, the free metal storage. That's a huge thing. So we have we have quite a few customers who have so much metals being stored that it would cost them well over $100 a month to store it. So just for the storage alone, never mind the amount that they save on buying the precious metals, is worth the membership all by itself. And then we have you're able to feed starving children. We've partnered with a company. I'll talk about them in a minute. This is great. You don't have to do anything. We're going to donate on your behalf. We have a precious metals knowledge base where you can learn. We're really about education too at Mintbuilder. That's a big part of Mintbuilder is, like I told you about the person that came to me with those coins that were super disappointed. They were clad. If they had the right education, they probably wouldn't have bought those. There's a lot of red flags that were with that. Unfortunately, they spend millions of dollars in marketing on TV, so millions of people fall for that. Anyway, we also have an open vault marketplace where you can list your silver and gold to our entire customer base. We have a shop buyback guarantee. We have cash rewards, so that as your savings, you're building up rewards, you can get some free silver and gold from the shop. We have our sales associate refer and earn platform access. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And you have wholesale access to the MyMint wallet. We have a free premium hurdler tax app. We're branding over to something even better. We're going into something called the Pocket Nest, which is a wealth planning app that you'll have access to. Discounts on travel attraction come along with your customer membership. I love it. I use it. It's cheaper than Expedia when you're going to staying places like hotels, things like that. They do have the best prices. Now, currently, this is even better. We're running a promotion, so you have for the rest of this month, not too much, a couple more weeks yet, that you can save over half off. So you can spend only $39 a month, or you can pay only $25 a month and pay for the whole year up front. It's actually $299, so that saves you hundreds of dollars. I think it's over $400. And this is the cool thing about it is once you lock in on this, and if you stay active as a customer, you're going to always enjoy this half off savings for life. It's not going to be like it's just for 1 month or just for 1 year. As long as you remain active, you're going to continue to have that savings. Now, I'll talk about the assets. I'll tell you more about it. It's this. So we believe that you should have, when you're creating a savings, if you're anything like me or like majority of other people, if you don't have an automatic way to do something, it's easy to forget it. I set all my bills up on auto pay. I set my savings on auto savings. I don't want to have to use my brain cells on those kind of minor detail things. I have too many other things that I'm focusing on and trying to accomplish that I don't want to have to worry about those, because I will forget about it. I'll think, okay, I'll get to it at the end of the month. I'm going to save. I'll go into the shop and buy whatever. I won't do it. Maybe you're very disciplined in that. That's great. More power to you. You should do that. But for most people, creating an auto asset savings is the best way to go. So you can say, this month I want to get a gram of gold. And then you can go ahead and change it next month. You can say, put that to 0, and you can say, you know what, I want a 5-ounce silver bar. You know, you're using that pendulum I was telling you about, and all of a sudden now, you know, maybe gold is starting to get undervalued, so you want to start getting more gold. Who knows? And that you have the freedom to be able to change it up as you want, and you can cancel your auto asset at any time. So you're saving 50% on the premiums. The premiums are our cost versus retail costs. So that spread in between of our cost versus retail cost, you're saving half of that. And so you're going to find, you'll see that you're not going to be able to find the products cheaper anywhere else. So you're going to get it. And I love it because all of our social media, we have customers all the time posting their picture of, you know, hey, I got my bullion today, and they take a picture of it. I love seeing it because that means that, you know, to me, all the people in Mintbuilder are my family. It's Mintbuilder family. I think that's how I think of it. So our friends and family, our savings are actually getting ahead of the curve of things that are happening. And I don't know what 2024 holds, but I do know that I want to be holding more of this, just from what I've been hearing from a lot of experts, and gold and silver. So this is the place to do it and to set it up. So you get your free metal storage. We have a thing that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on right now. We in our knowledge base, we have more in-depth information on that. And that's the infinite banking. So we call it the sacred account. So a sacred account is your way to save cash and earn interest on it. And basically you're becoming a partner almost with a whole life insurance company, and you're putting your money in there. And I use it too. So, you know, let's say that you saved up $20,000, you're saving 500 a month, you build it up, and you want to go get a car. You need a car. Your car is no good anymore. So you go trade it in. You say, hey, guess what? I can pay you cash. And you're probably going to get maybe a little better deal for your car too on top of it. So you borrow the funds from your own self. And when you do it, it's you know, a couple, fill in a form and click a button on your computer, and it gets put right into your checking account within just a couple of days. You're going to have the cash right there. And then you're going to take that cash and go buy the car. So are you still earning interest on that 20 grand, even though you say you took out $17,000 of it? You only have 3,000 left in there, but how much are you still earning interest? You're still earning interest on all $20,000, even though you took it out. And that's what's cool about it. And this is why most of all the ultra elite use these insurance policies. For example, President Biden has 2 of them, I think, 2 or 3, and almost all the elites do. You can go way back to about 130 years ago when he started doing this, 130, 140 years ago. You know, you had the Rockefellers and all. They're the ones that basically created the loopholes to start using this. It's not taxed money, so you're keeping in there. It's not being taxed because you're just actually paying extra on your life insurance. So you're able to borrow it, and because you're kind of like a partner with the insurance company, at the end, you know, after a year, you're going to get dividends on it. So you're earning interest, you're getting dividends, and just a nice icing on the cake is it's whole life insurance. So if something ever happens to you, that money goes, and also your life insurance, whatever, if you say a $500,000 policy, goes to your loved ones. So it's a win-win for everybody. It's an awesome tool. We're happy to have it. We have an insurance agent on board with us that works in our staff. They got insurance license, so we can also, you know, refer and sell that. And then also we have the MyMet wallet, which is digital gold and silver held physically. The most important part of it is it's not digital, just made up gold and silver. You're buying a piece of a bigger block, like a 100-ounce bar of gold, or like up to a 2,000-ounce you know, silver bar. So you're buying a piece of something very, very big. You're owning a piece of it. So what happens with on this app or on your back office, so you can go in, you can buy, and you can always just push a button and buy it. You can always push a button and sell it. It's instant. So it allows people in all demographics all around the globe, anybody that has a smartphone can literally buy silver and gold, and you don't have to have a place to store it because it's stored for free. And it's insured by Lloyd's of London, which is really hard to be able to do. But we partner with IDS of Texas and IDS of Delaware, which is one of the most prominent storage companies in the world, third party audited and very heavily armed and very well insured. And it's being stored there, and you're owning pieces of it. You're buying it, you can sell it, you can transfer it to somebody, you know, that you have connected to your account, and it's still physical. So it's not something made up like in the stocks. If you're buying ETFs, a lot of times they don't have the gold and silver proof. Again, Warren Buffett, I've mentioned a few times, he liquidated a lot of silver at one point, and the whole stock market system, the ETF, they didn't have that much silver, so they're scrambling all over the place buying up from mints the silver to fulfill his order. He almost collapsed the system. So that's proof that they don't carry the amount of gold and silver. I used to do options trading of gold and silver back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and knowing that they don't actually have it backing it, that's kind of scary now, especially because it's leveraged. But with this, we actually have it physically backed. So that's a really cool feature. You can buy it, you can sell it. Here's what it looks like: buy, sell, transfer. Now, if you want to like get physical delivery to you, then you sell it, and then instantly what will happen is the money will go into your wallet in your account, and then you can spend the money from your wallet in the shop and buy whatever physical bullion you want, and then we'll ship it to you. So it just kind of shows you, you got your holdings, you got your value holdings, you got your log. It tells you how much you bought and sold. The knowledge base I mentioned earlier as well is cool. You can see all the benefits, the FAQs. Here's the academy where you actually take tests and you get a certificate when you pass multiple different tests to learn a little bit more about precious metals. We have blogs, the sacred account, the My Mint Wallet access, news and analytics of what's happening in the economy and especially in our industry. Sales tips and tools for those of you who are interested in referring others. And a training library. There's a lot there. And we want to keep it all in one place so it's simple. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your subscription does have a deeper impact. We've partnered with Feed My Starving Children. I've been working with them personally for over 15 years. And what they do is they provide meals to starving children all around the globe, not just third world countries, even here in the US and other European countries, other first world countries. Every place in the world, there's starving kids. And they're literally feeding kids in over 100 countries. And what makes them so great is that their meal packs, when the money comes to them, 91%, so out of every $100, $91 goes directly to the product, to the food. And this food is designed perfectly to give every nutrient that a child needs to make them healthy. Because how are they supposed to dream, and how are they supposed to, become, people that are like bringing more to the world? How are they supposed to, end up getting financially well off and helping their family? How can they do that when they're starving? You don't think anything past, if you're so hungry. I know, growing up when I was little, there was times where I was really hungry. I didn't think of anything else. There was nothing else on my mind. I thought about, what am I going to eat? I need to eat something. And that was all I could focus on. And it creates a depression in your brain and all kinds of other bad things. Well, this company, the reason they can have a 91%, which is crazy. Most nonprofit 501c3s often, it's 50 to 65% of the money goes towards the product, but they're able to accomplish this because they use volunteers. I've packaged food with them numerous times. A lot of delivery people are delivering, volunteering, and they're even going in countries that they're not allowed to. They have inlets and ways to sneak food into children. And on top of all that, they also teach the children, like different skill sets so that they are able to go out and be productive and help make an income for their family. So they're not only just feeding them, but they're also giving them a means so to be able to start feeding themselves. So the whole thing with don't just give someone a fish, but teach them how to fish. That's what they're doing. So it's a great organization. I absolutely love them. I've never seen one as good as them. And so we're proud to be able to support them. So every time you're paying for your monthly or annual membership, you're feeding children all over the globe. And that's a really good thing to know. So here at Mintbuilder, we don't just stop with the accumulating real assets. We also understand that, most people are seeking more income right now. And so what we've done, I told you I was going to tell you a little bit more about this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, just a few minutes on it. I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works, but all companies have to have a marketing budget, right? They have to be able to pay for Google ads or TV ads or radio ads or social media ads or whatever it may be. They have to pay to get their name, billboards, their name out there so they get customers. And we want customers because we know we're helping people. We're proud of what we do. We're very happy with making our family bigger, where everybody's starting to actually save real money and not just working paycheck to paycheck. We want people to have a week's income, a month's income, 6 months income put away so they feel safe and sound, and then they can start investing, paying off debt, things like that. And so what we decided to actually help expedite that was, instead of taking our marketing budget and spending it on these other big companies, like giving it to Google or something like that, we decided, why not give it to just the average person, right? The average person knows somebody else that can benefit from savings, so they can refer them to us. And so we said, you know what, let's give them the marketing budget. So that's what we do. We actually take our marketing budget and we pay commissions to help refer other people. Now, this ain't like a gimmicky pyramid thing. This is just refer and earn. You refer someone as a customer, they come in, they buy products, you can get paid for it. It just so happens if they're on an automatic savings and they're getting the savings sent to them every month, then you're going to earn recurring, commissions. That means you're going to earn the same commission every month from that person. So you're helping them, they're helping you. It's a win-win. Why would we not work in this kind of way? I wish all society worked in a win-win instead of just a win-lose situation. We want win-win. That's what we want. Anytime we can do win-win, that's what we're trying to do. So you're going to get your own precious metals shop. It's coded to you. You're going to be able to get your own software that keeps track of everything. You have training, you have marketing tools like, page peels and QR codes and banners. We have a marketing system. It's a free marketing system where someone comes in, you refer people to us. We basically take care of everything else for you. They're going to fill out their information. They're going to pay a very small nominal fee for shipping, and we're going to ship them just a small free gram silver bar. But it's cool, they're going to get that. You don't have to do it. We do it for you. It's just you referring people. So that's a lead capture. Now you have a lead. You have someone's name and phone number, email. They might just, decide to join as a customer, or you could call them. That's up to you. And then we do all the payment processing, so you don't have to worry about chargebacks and all the bad things that come with merchant settings and things like that. Product order fulfillment. This is huge nowadays. You could probably read dozens and maybe hundreds of books probably on affiliate marketing and why you should do it, like Amazon affiliate marketing. Instead of you inventorying all the product yourself, just refer people like influencers do. Refer them to the product and let that company deal with it, and you make a commission. And that's the cool part about it, and even residual commission. So we do the order fulfillment. You don't have to worry about something getting lost in the mail. We insure it. We take care of it. Unlimited commissions. I'm not going to go into depth on how the commissions work. We have a training video for that. It's like a 20-minute video. You can get back with the person who referred you on here tonight. They can give that to you and help you out with learning all that if you want to, if you're interested. But again, the main thing here is Mintbuilder is a two-sided coin. Every pun intended on that. So one side of the coin is the main part. This is the main thing we're all about, and that is helping people preserve their wealth, helping people get ahead. Not just for what's coming, but what's always come. Our dollar's designed to lose value. Protect that value. Stop the value from getting lost. Stop as much of it as you can with your dollar soldiers. And that's the main thing here at Mintbuilder. And then the second part of the other side of the coin, when you flip it over, is that you can earn some extra streams of income, because nobody gets really wealthy from a 9 to 5. All of the ultra elite people, they are rich because they have multiple streams of income. They don't just make money from one thing, and it's too dependent. It's too dependent. It has to come from multiple sources. We want to be one of those sources for you. If you're just interested in being a wholesale customer, no problem. That's the main thing anyway. But for those who want to refer and earn, that's why we set aside our marketing budget to give to you for referring customers to us. And again, right now is the time to do it, because we have this, right now, this membership sale, where you're going to be able to save half off for life of the membership cost is going on right now. You just go to the website, mintbuilder.com/ whatever the link is that someone, referred you, and then you click on the Save Today button, and you're going to go ahead and be able to enjoy the savings forever as long as you remain active. So now is the time to do that, and not to delay it. It is today is how we do it. So that's all I have as far as this presentation goes. But for those of you here on here live, I'm going to open it up, and you can go ahead and ask any questions you have, and I'm going to stop recording.